Here's the other thing about atheism that we don't get credit for in a lot of arguments is that, like, on the other side is beauty. People who read Penn's art book that says every day is an atheist holiday, if you have spirituality, you read this as a really sarcastic fuck you. But what that is to an atheist is a beautiful, optimistic thought. And it's like we have our... So if you really do embrace this lack of significance, if you really do embrace this one lifetime, there's so much beauty at your fingertips every day that's actually happening to you. That if you really... And then when you have no value to it, when I have no way to capture that as like, this is my path, then those moments have a huge impact.
My wife and I were walking out of a supermarket, and there was an older fellow there. And there was a beautiful sunset, which we certainly get in Vegas, coming out over the mountains. And the guy said, not knowing who he was standing between, just kind of musing aloud, he said, "No one can look at that sunset and say there's no God." And my wife and I said together,
in unison,
"There's no God." And people will tell me, how can you see the birth of a child and think there's no God? And my answer is, how can you see the birth of a child and think there is a God? When you get that much beauty, how could you want more? There's a greed in religion, a deep, deep greed, and an impolite ungratefulness to the universe that you want everlasting life.
Man, a young person said that to me. Actually, a friend of mine's daughter said, she said, "Dad, why do people think they should live forever?" And this is a really sharp, like, 13-year-old. And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well," she said, "I feel like, we live our life and then we should make room for other people to live their lives on the planet. Like, it seems really greedy that people would want to live forever. Like, why do people think that they should get that?"
Exactly. But I mean,
I was like, whoa.
You've won this astonishing lottery.
And that was a big FU to overly religious people as well as the old guy character in Prometheus.
Well, Prometheus is an interesting story. I mean, it was probably not a great movie maybe, but a pretty interesting story that when you go searching for God, you just find like a bigger version of you.
Yeah.
You just find this really like projected version of your own greed and desire.
But the idea that when someone says, I mean, it's this wonderful kind of circular thing. Someone says, if you don't have God, then none of this means anything. Well, if none of this means anything, then God didn't give us jack shit.
Right.
It's the love of life.
Right.
Taking your time to love life. I mean, it's the reverse of this is Michael O'Donoghue, one of the most brilliant comedy writers of our time. Michael O'Donoghue once said, "Surely God could have thought of a better gift to give us than life." A nice cologne set, something. But the inside out of that is, I have 2 children that I love, a wife that I love. I have joy with them. That is a level of joy that when I read the Bible and Jesus says, this whole world is nothing, it's all the world behind, fuck you. That fills my heart with such joy that I'm crying. And you're saying that that's nothing? That this is a veil of tears, a torturing, that we then have to rise above in everlasting life? Possibly.
I mean, I think that's a Pauline gloss on Jesus, actually, but...
yes, it is. That's wicked, Paul.
Yeah, I think Jesus was much more like a Jew, like earthy.
In the Bible,
yeah,
Paul is like the Beatles, Paul. Kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he's hard to get along with. You know, he like pisses people off, and friendships fall by the wayside. He's a tough guy.
And he keeps going when the good ones fall away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we lose John and George, and Paul's still going.